Hey, what's going on? It's me, Toka. Very shortly after the announcement that CBT2 qualifications were being distributed, the Wuthering Waves developers dropped us a nice little message to tease us on a few things that we can expect to see during this closed beta test. So, what I have here is the developer's message on screen, and I'm just going to kind of dive a little bit into it and just kind of see what's up. So, starting off, greetings, Rovers. It has been a while since the previous Wuthering Waves beta test. First and foremost, we would like to express our gratitude to each and every one of you who have been following and supporting the development of Wuthering Waves. During this interlude, our team has made extensive changes, adjustments, and optimizations to the game contents based on feedback and suggestions we received from you. Before you embark on the next round of testing, we would like to share with you a summary of our development process over the past 10 months and also a few sneak peeks of some new content that will be featured in the second closed beta test. Exciting! News content. First thing, story revision. Stories are a crucial part of a world as expansive as Wuthering Waves and have been our priority in the list changes. During this period, we performed a thorough overhaul of the in game stories, removed settings that were deemed unsatisfactory, and made adjustments to character designs accordingly with the above changes. Necessary modifications also needed to be made to overall story flow, animations, voiceovers, and other resources. As they mentioned in the previous developer interview, if you haven't seen it, I have a video covering over that. But they did mention that they had changed 90% of the game's story content, which also, when you change story content, you have to change other things like the dungeons, the character designs, and so on, because all of those assets are tied to the main story. In this iteration of the test, we have implemented the skip function. That's huge. I'm a big story enjoyer. I'm not going to use the skip function, but there are some people that just want to play the game for like the game's content and not the story itself. So to kind of cater to people that are just looking to play the game, this is going to be very big for them, which aims to improve the player's overall speed and pacing when experiencing some story missions. In addition, the inclusion of resonator story missions for Jinyang and Lingyang will help players fully experience the charm of these resonators in conjunction with supporting game modes to gain a grasp of more immersive gaming experience. I'm assuming the story missions are just going to be side quests for Jinyang and Lingyang, just kind of get a little bit more understanding of maybe their background or maybe just add a little bit of personality to their character. I'm a big I'm in favor of that. I like to know a little bit more about the characters themselves and maybe what their personalities is like because it kind of makes them stand out a little bit more rather than just being a plot device to the main story. So then we have some clips here, which looks like this may be from a dungeon, or I don't know if this is maybe part of the overworld. It looks really good though. You can definitely see a lot of the improvements to the lighting here since the first closed beta test. Um, the other improvements they have done is to the combat. The combat system from previous beta tests was well received by the community. Combat looks awesome. Using it as the foundation, we have made optimizations to the overall combat loop experience centered around the intro skill and outro skill. Detailed adjustments were made to aspects such as character skill effects, general combat mechanics, screen shaking, camera lock, etc. Echo skills were also further improved, giving them smoother performances, and echo skills boasting special utilities will also serve as countermeasures during necessary combat situations. Three new resonators, Jiangxing, Lingyang, and Kalcharo, have been introduced to the game for players to experience, along with three bosses: Impermanence Heron, Mech Abomination, and Tempest Memphis, plus a new phase for Scar. I'm wondering if the new phase for Scar is something we haven't seen yet, or if maybe it's the goat form that we saw in the developer interview, but we'll see here next week. While reducing the complexity for players to gain the know-how of the in-game combat system, we also added high difficulty elites and the tactical hologram calamity game modes placed around various areas of the map, which greatly reward players that are seeking for challenges. Our goal is for players, regardless of skill level or appeal for action games, to become engaged as quickly as possible and fully experience the smooth and satisfying combat Wuthering Waves has to offer. I may be an outlier in this opinion. I know some people definitely don't share this opinion with me, but I think in a game that you're trying to appeal to a wide of audience instead of like maybe like just the hardcore group, It's very important for the game skill floor to be low so that way the fundamentals of the combat mechanics or the game systems are easy to understand and people can kind of just jump right in. Kind of like how Genshin or even Honkai Star Rail, they're the functions of the game are basically simplified down to two buttons. It makes it very easy to understand, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the skill ceiling of the game needs to be low. So it's good to see that they're going to keep the high skill ceiling with engaging and challenging boss fights. So that way people can kind of go to the full extent of their capabilities while challenging these bosses. And I believe in the developer interview, they said that these bosses will also reward players with unique echoes. Uh, so just a nice little tidbit for people that are willing to take on that challenge. Graphics quality improvements. The adjustments to the in-game visuals introduce a more comfortable and polished appearance. Internally, the team implemented a more detailed atmosphere tier system to address the player feedback and visual fatigue experienced from the previous test. Thus, focused optimizations were put into place to model renderings, shapes, special effects, clothing designs, etc., based on characters' appearances. During this test, players will have the opportunity to witness and be immersed in weather phenomena like the etheric sea, celestial anomaly, and retroact rain, including the world of Wuthering Waves, well, unique to the world of Wuthering Waves. In specific areas, distinctively designed sceneries have been placed by combining our concept designs, hoping to bring players a different experience. They did mention before the unique weather, and I'm kind of curious if the unique weather is just going to be kind of like ambient, like it's just supposed to provide atmosphere, or if the unique weather itself is going to make changes to the world, like maybe some aspects in the overworld are going to change depending on the unique weather situation. Maybe unique monsters might spawn during those weathers. Only time will tell. Optimizations to echoes and new in-game events. Compared to the previous test, we included a dedicated tutorial guide for the echo system, while also lowering the difficulty of discovering and obtaining echoes. After obtaining an echo for the first time, the chances of reobtaining it in the same task field will be increased the more you challenge it. The current Echo Kit adopts a tag-based system, which makes for versatile combinations and strategies based on these circumstances. Players will now also have the opportunity to encounter and collect elusive echoes, final name vary in-game. These echoes possess special appearances and features, but we won't spoil them just yet. I'm assuming the elusive echoes are supposed to be the shiny variants. One of the examples they gave us was we saw the famous Wuthering Waves turtle, and they showed a shiny version of it that was kind of more albino colored, and I think it might have been shinier. But uh, the one I'm concerned about is the special, not the special appearances, but the features. And so I'm wondering if like there's going to be an incentive to actually go shiny hunting for these elusive echoes. If maybe they like, give extra stat bonuses or maybe like a unique trait or that will be given to your character when you have them equipped. But definitely won't want to. I'm definitely going to look more into this during the closed beta test. Last but not least, for the first time, limited time in-game events such as the Depths of Illusion, Elusive Realm, and Overdash Club Track Challenge will also be available for experiencing in this test. This boss is not familiar to me. I don't think I've seen this one in the first closed beta test, and I could be wrong. Maybe maybe I'm mis maybe I'm not like recognizing it, but I this might be a new boss in that one of these new in-game events. Uh this kind of looks like if you look at there's the two doors in the background and then there's the the hallway with the train in the field. I'm wondering if this may be like a roguelike event, maybe kind of like the simulated universe in Honkai Star Rail where you deal with some enemies, you get some buffs, and you move on, and then you go to the boss. I'll definitely look more into that as well. As the game is currently in its development phase, some of the content players experience are still work in progress builds, which may lead to unpleasant gaming experiences. Players will find some voiceover content for the characters and storylines absent within the game, but rest assured these contents are undergoing rigorous development as we perform further improvements to the game. Players participating in the beta test on mobile devices may experience increased power consumption, overheating, and other issues for certain devices. Cross-platform performance, various UI interfaces, in-game text localizations, and existing voiceovers will also undergo further optimizations down the line. We wish to extend our appreciation for the understanding and support you've given us thus far. We are deeply aware that the game still has many shortcomings, and your feedback and suggestions propel us to strive towards the goal of presenting a game enjoyed by all rovers. As we will continue to carry out new features and enhancements to the game, stay tuned to future developers' messages on further updates and improvements to Wuthering Waves. Thank you for being part of the Wuthering Waves community, and we hope to see you again in the upcoming closed beta test, Wuthering Waves team. So this little closing statement. Basically, you're going to encounter issues that you might not like. The game is not perfect; it's not finished. They are aware of some of these issues. Now, a lot of these changes were brought about based on player feedback, and if you're in the closed beta test, they usually provide a feedback form that you will fill out. I heavily encourage you, if there is something you have an issue with, if you don't like it, please submit that feedback. Note it down while you're playing it, and when you provide the feedback form, you can write it down and send it to them, because we want to try and make this game a better place for everyone to enjoy that are looking to get into Wuthering Waves, and those changes are only going to happen if the developers know about them. So now, as far as further news, I will also be covering any news regarding this as they come up. And that's going to be it for the developer messages. If you like the content, please like and subscribe. Any support is greatly appreciated, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.